What's your biggest lesson from being married to me?
Learning how to actually open my heart and love people.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Like what that is.
How to open your heart.
Yeah. And like define love for myself. Like what does that look like? Because like we hear it all the time. You know, you go to a concert and somebody on stage is like, I love you guys. It's like, you don't know anybody.
Welcome to Plenty. I'm your host, Kate Northrup, and together we are going on a journey to help you have an incredible relationship with money, time, and energy, and to have abundance on every possible level. Every week, we're gonna dive in with experts and insights to help you unlock a life of plenty. Let's go fill our cups.
Please note that the opinions and perspectives of the guests on the Plenty podcast are not necessarily reflective of the opinions and perspectives of Kate Northrup or anyone who works within the Kate Northrup brand.
Hi, honey.
Hi.
Welcome to Plenty.
Thanks.
Welcome to our podcast.
Number 2, second time.
Second time. So I thought of 2 questions to start us off. This week is our 10th wedding anniversary, and that's hard to believe.
You mean when this is coming out? Because right now is not our 10th wedding anniversary.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
When this is project into the future with me.
I got it.
And on the day this is published, it is, I think, 3 days before our 10th wedding anniversary, which is July 5th. And that feels like not possible. I really can't believe our wedding was 10 years ago. But are your pants okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I just want to make sure that any really alpha males are watching that I'm in my alpha male stance.
Oh.
So they can't make fun of me. Yeah.
Are there a group of alpha males on the internet who come and make fun of other men?
Yeah, of course.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're not masculine enough. They don't
What does
do
an
it.
alpha male stance mean?
I'm just like legs spread wide.
Taking
Take up
up
my
space.
space.
Taking up the space.
Because my balls are so big.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was going to start off by asking 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is, what is the hardest part about being married to me?
The future tripping.
Yeah.
It is the 1 million ideas that come out of your head every day, which is also amazing, right? It's like way better than having somebody that doesn't want to do anything in their life.
Being married to a limp noodle?
Yeah, limp noodle. But it is, I think that is one of the hardest things is that I always have the running joke that it's lucky that I'm still here. Like for some reason you keep showing up every day and choosing to be with me.
No, you just keep staying. Every day, wake up, still there. I'm like, all right, well.
Okay, so yeah.
Also, you're really good
sauce.
at loading and unloading the dishwasher. You're a great dad.
You're not.
So great dad?
No.
I'm not a great
Loading
dad.
and unloading the dishwasher.
I'm also not good at loading and unloading the dishwasher.
Yeah, you're terrible.
Okay, so the hardest part is the future tripping. What's the best part?
What's the best part? The future tripping.
Oh.
The constant desire
You mean my vision?
The vision, yeah.
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 That's another one.
Well, I
another
guess
way
those
of
are two
saying
different things, really. So that one of them is...
Well, they're the shadow and the light of the same thing.
Yeah, the vision of wanting to do something that is new and adventures, right? Like my wedding ring's, wrong one. It says...
That was your aura ring.
You know, life is a real trip. Falling in love... Wait, what does it actually say?
It says falling in love is a real trip.
Yeah, falling in love is a real trip, and that's what we are. We're on like an adventure we have been since we got together. So that, I would say, is one of my favorite pieces of being with you. And I would sense with the ideas is that what happens internally for me is sometimes when so many ideas get presented, there's an unhappiness of where we currently are. So it takes it out of the present moment to think that we have to go do these things,
You mean
not to find
you
happiness.
interpret it as there's a problem with where we are.
That's what it kind of comes across with sometimes.
Right. When I'm presenting you with an idea about something new, you're taking it as there's a problem with what's now sometimes.
Yeah, because the way you operate, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's...
You know how I operate. I don't need to correct you.
You're like, when you say you want to do something, in your head, it's kind of already done. And you're like, I thought of the idea, now I'm on to the next thing. But then for that idea to be completed, there might be 50 steps behind it.
I'm not very process oriented.
Yeah. So
Big
that
picture.
is, I would say that can be frustrating sometimes because tomorrow you're going to come with another idea that you have and it's already done, which also requires 50 steps behind it. So in 3 days with 3 ideas, there's 150 steps to be completed. But in Kate's, they're already done. So
Sure.
it is beautiful to be in because in the other end is like more of me that's like, okay, how do we do all 150 steps? So it's thinking of the process and the system that needs to happen with it.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine if you had ended up with some other type of person and like what.
I mean, I've dated many other types of people.
Yeah, I know, but you haven't like built a whole life with them. I just was like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway. Okay, so I got a
What
question.
type of person?
Someone who doesn't have so many ideas and who's not so big picture oriented.
Well, I would have been with someone that had ideas because I actually knew relationships are going to work because I dated this woman once and I said that we were in our 20s. It was like just after college graduation. I had 1 semester left. She was done and she was working at she was a pharmacist. And I was like, what do you want to do with your life? Like your career and this type of stuff. And she goes, well, I'll just work here at the place she was working and I'll move up and just be here for 35 years. And I was like, this isn't going to work. Like, I just knew immediately it wasn't going to work because I was like, there's more than just like being at one. If you choose to do that, that's fine. But like for me, being in a partnership with somebody, I was like, there has to be a little bit more of an adventure. So I went the other extreme where it's like 30 years to,
Yeah. Every day I have a different vision for our future.
Yeah.
So I got a question from someone who is.
What about me?
Oh, you want to ask? Okay, great.
Yeah. Answer those for me.
Okay, the hardest
I
part
pretty
about
much know
being
what they are.
married to you is is
You can just say it.
yeah.
You don't have to sugarcoat
it's
it.
your tone of voice and being grumpy. Yeah.
Yep.
It's that you can be really abrasive and combative. However, I mean, that is hard. However, the part about that that's been so great for me is like I used to like turn that into then I needed to do something about it. I needed to fix it. You were mad at me. I'm in trouble. Like I used to go on a whole thing about it. And I'm so much better at being like, great, you just be with your grumpy self. I will be in my joy. You be with your grump and that is your choice. And so that's been like good personal development for me to like not need to take that on or really, quite frankly, need it to mean anything or alternatively responding in real time and being like, you can't talk to me that way, which has also been important for my own personal development because I do not come from a background where I felt like I could just say in real time a boundary. So I've gotten much better about that with you, which is great. And then the best part about being married to you is, I mean, I really think it's like you provide such an incredible grounding energy, like grounding structure and energy in our lives, like that sense of safety and predictability. And like, you're so consistent and you're so present. And even if you're grumpy about it 20% of the time, the truth is like actions speak louder than words and your actions are what's true, not your tone of voice. And yeah, you really show up and it's amazing. You show up in all different kinds of ways. And then I would also say your willingness to learn and grow and think outside the box and look at things in a new way. You really don't have much resistance to possibilities of like, hey, let's look at this healing modality, or hey, let's try this astrology thing, or like, hey, let's go to this workshop or whatever. Like you're very open. And I think that's rare. It's rare. It's certainly rare amongst some of the people I like. Anyway, in our programs, it comes up
It's
a lot
rare in
that
men.
women are saying like, my husband is not personal development oriented. He thinks anything about energy is like, woo woo and stupid or whatever. I'm being extreme. I'm totally exaggerating right now, but it's common that men can be a real stick in the mud around healing
No, I
and
think-
really looking at their stuff. And you are really open. And I love that about you.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to our friend James yesterday, who was on your podcast recently, Wedmore, and we were talking about he has another friend who goes to these men's events like I've gone to many times, and different Sacred Sons is one of them. I've gone to local groups here in Miami, and just being around a group of men to help heal and grow together and have a really good friend connection and a good group of guys to talk to. And I said, it's just, and then having people like his wife in very similar career that you have, right? And so it's the reverse of what the traditional upbringing has been, where it's like the man makes all the money and the woman is the caretaker or the homemaker. Wait, what was the thing with the homemaker recently? Oh yeah, that guy did the graduation speech at the Catholic church or whatever. Yeah, to make a good
Catholic
homemaker.
college.
Catholic college. So I always
About
like to text Kate and say she's such a good homemaker.
Highest purpose is being a homemaker.
So funny. But it's like, and I just said, there's no framework for this. Like, it wasn't a thing where it is now, where we're adjusting to what this coming into this new world and realizing we also have some work to do, right? There's also us as guys to do the work that we need to also feel happy or to feel joy or pride versus like trying to battle or fight everything and with anger and testosterone all the time. So what does that look like in our life? And so we have to go find these places and be with other guys to like heal this relationship that's here. Yeah. So thanks for that. I appreciate because I also do it for myself. Like I do it for me. And then I also do it like, I love you. I love being with you. That's why I wake up every day with you.
Keep
our kids
around.
And like, I like our family dynamic that exists there. So I want to do the things that help that nurture to grow with it. Cause I still get angry at my kids, like at least every day, multiple times sometimes, and just want to like disappear into the oblivion. Just hole up in the woods by myself. Yeah. So
you should schedule that. Schedule some time to hole up in the woods by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So this question came in. I think it's timely. And a person was asking, she is in a dynamic where her husband is sick and has been for a long time. And she is in the role of being the primary breadwinner. And she is wondering how in her particular dynamic, she wanted to know more about like how to keep the polarity in a relationship with the masculine and feminine alive or nurture that in her current situation. And she was curious, because you've been sick, if I had anything to share about that. And I would like to say, if that person is listening or anyone who that applies to, I just want to dig into this with you a little bit. But I do want to say, like, we're not in that dynamic. I was in a paradigm, and we talked about this back in your episode, the first episode of Plenty, back in September 2023. We talked about being in that dynamic where I really was in this paradigm of feeling like a martyr, feeling a lot of resentment, feeling like everything was on my shoulders. And there were some really tough years in there. But I just wanted to celebrate on this 10th anniversary episode that I have exited that particular paradigm, and it's really nice.
It's true.
Like, we are not in that dance anymore. And may that be, hope, strength, and light for those who are in a paradigm or a dance in their relationship that doesn't feel great, that doesn't feel sexy, that doesn't feel like I really was in this place where I felt burdened financially. I felt burdened by having to like show up in our business. I felt like I didn't get to just drop out and take a break. And even though Mike was dropped out because he was sick, like, it's not like that was your choice. And so that's, just for the little history on there. And then so it was cool when her question came in. I am very sorry that this person is experiencing this, because I know how awful that feels. And there was a moment of celebration, though, of like, I am not in that place anymore. And that feels really good. And I think we did a lot of things to get out of that place. One of them is a lot of internal healing work that I needed to do, because the truth is we can't be in a different external paradigm, in a different dance and relationship without healing whatever pattern is going on inside of us to create our side of that dance. So that was where I started. And a lot of that work is inside Relax Money, actually. But then there was some healing work that we needed to do in our dynamic together, and healing work that you did personally as well. But can you speak to, if you were to give this woman, so I might come back and give like some tips or wisdom, but if you were to speak to someone, like if you were to be able to not be you, but be like a wise external person talking to me 5 years ago, if I was that person asking that question, what might you pass along as a piece of wisdom or suggestion to her in that dynamic where she feels like some resentment and like she really wants to have a strong masculine feminine dynamic in her relationship, but because she's the one making the money and he's sick, she doesn't feel like it's there right now?
So the question is,
what should she do?
I don't know.
Okay.
The reason I don't want to, so I can give some helpful things, but there's so many layers.
So many layers.
We're hearing it from this woman that's
No,
asking you.
100%, but I'm assuming.
Let me finish. Okay. And number one, you're like, I think when we look back to our life is like, it's almost like taking a step back and realize like, what are we doing here? Right? Like this dynamic. There's going to be a point in time in all of our lives, regardless of where we are. It's like, oh, my partner's sick. I'm reading Chris Carr's book right now. She was on the podcast taking care of her dad, right? And so she was, you could say, taken out of life, quote unquote, for a period of weeks probably, or months, helping him.
Well, in years, if you really think about
whatever the time frame is, right? Just insert time frame to your issue, because someone in a partnership is going to go through something that is very long, traumatic, and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think we have to come to a relationship that this could exist. Now, when I was really sick, and I don't know what this guy's going through, I have no idea what his situation is. I have no idea if he has a job that was laid off, whatever this situation is. I think first you have to talk about it, right? Like we talked about it, we seeked help. You have to be open to wanting to help. Do you want to stay with this person? Like, do you actually like the person you're with? I liked you. I assumed you liked me during that time, which is why we stayed together, right? And we were willing to work on what we were going through and seek help. And in our case, that was through a therapist to help us. It wasn't sexy, right? There was a loss of polarity that exists because the energetic dynamics are changing. I'm really hesitant around this whole quote unquote breadwinner. We've had a lot of conversation around this to really dropping the term. Because really it's an energetic exchange that exists. Because there was an option in our relationship when I was really sick where you also could have stopped working for a period of probably 2 years, and we would have kept our lifestyle would have changed a little bit, like letting go of certain employees or really minimizing our team to keep what we need to do maintenance wise. And that conversation was on the table and you chose not to do it. So it's almost the stress burden of quote unquote breadwinning.
That's why I said I was in a paradigm.
Right. So just stay with me. Yeah. I'm going to explain this whole thing. So it's like there is an option where the breadwinning quote that Kate could have been holding on to could have gone away. Right. And it's like, oh, now we're at ease and relaxation and we can both rest. But instead we like kept the pushing happening. So the paradigm for you has definitely changed, like in the last couple of years. Like I don't know what's happening over there, but it's fantastic and I love it. And I think what's happening is, I mean, for me, if I see this and talk to this woman, it's like, how do we get back to the place of love versus coming out of all this resentment and the discomfort and like, if your husband is sick, your goal is to love him. Like that's what we want. That's what guys want. We just want to be loved. Because we're either pushed by a coach at sports, our dads are yelling at us all the time, or not there, right? And so that dynamic doesn't exist. If you're a single mom, probably stress the hell out. Like, how do I deal with this kid? We go to school at the age of 10, we're told to sit at desks. So all the energy that boys have.
5.
Well, it starts there, but at 10, like this whole Anyway, Kelly Starrett has done a lot of work on this with movement in boys. And so we look at this dynamic that exists at such a young age of how active and physical boys are, and then we're telling them to stop, right? And so this has always, there's never been like true love shown to a lot of men, and we are uncomfortable with even knowing what that is. And so I think in a place of like, how do you open your heart more? And if I think back to our situation, is what's happening now in the past couple of years, if you just like learn to open your heart more and realize like even the skin flare-ups I've had in the past couple of years, broken bones, like all of that stuff with my injury of my leg, you were just like, okay, how do I open this more to be like, this has to change for us to do it. But it starts with a conversation. That's what I would say between the two of them and coming to an agreement and also setting expectations, right? It's also like, hey, this is what I need from you. And this is what I need support with in this dynamic, because a lot of times I don't know what to do. Right. When I was really sick, or even now, like I'll just go inward and shut down in a way and to be like, I don't know how to get help. I don't know what to do. And a lot of times it comes from you to be like, well, who can you ask for help? It's like just simple questions like that. Instead of trying to fix me, you're just reflecting back, which is what a good coach does. Right. It's like if you have a good coach or a good therapist, a therapist is literally telling you nothing. If they're really good, they're asking questions to you for an hour and you're answering your own questions and getting your own solution. And as a good coach, that's what you're doing as well. You're asking good questions and they are answering. I'm answering. If somebody's talking to me, I'm answering my own problems and realizing, oh shit, now I got to do it. A lot of times not telling what they need to do different. And I think in the relationship, it's so easy and we get so used to, it's also great for parenting, according to Dr. Becky, right? Or presenting options. It's like, here's two options. And then they can choose what they think, right? So I think for us, it was just the ability to actually dive into love. And it's like, I just read that chapter in Chris's book because I'm in the middle of it, but it's so
I'm not a morning person.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person, but
Her
it's
episode won't be out by the time this one airs, but it's coming.
Oh, it's coming. Okay. So, but it just talks about how she really had to just kind of let go in this process of her dad passing away and just fully being present to what's going on.
When we were in the early days of the pandemic and we were like, at home, childcare was closed, trying to run our business, I reached out to my friend, Dr. Shafali, and I said, I'm losing it. Do you have a therapist you could recommend? I like really need help. And she was like, do you have 15 minutes? Let's just hop on FaceTime. I was like, okay. And so she got on FaceTime with me and she was like, I described what was going on. My kids are home. I'm like, they're crawling all over me. I'm trying to work. I'm trying to serve our customers. I feel so much pressure. And she was like, Kate, you are making this harder because you are resisting what is. Mm-hmm. She said, you need to just accept the isness of what is happening. And like now, your children are part of the furniture and you work in 2-minute increments in between giving them snacks. That now is what is. And I think what you talked about with like the future tripping, I am an optimizer. It's one of my gifts. But I'm always looking around at like, ooh, how could things be better? And that can really pull us out of the present moment, and that resistance to what is, the people, whoever, they say, what we resist persists. And that resistance to, okay, things are wrong, this isn't how it should be, I think is married to also the tendency to think like, once XYZ is fixed, once XYZ is over, once I have achieved XYZ thing, then I will finally feel whole, complete, joyful, relaxed, And one of my ongoing lessons that I've made a lot of progress on is realizing that actually there is no there. And all we have is, as Dr. Shafali says, all we have is the isness. And so I think that's so true. One of the things that we can all do, regardless of what challenge we're dealing with, whether it's in our marriage or, health or money or whatever, is like to fully surrender to what is. And it doesn't mean giving up, and it doesn't mean we're not going to continue to be on the path of healing and growth and expansion. It doesn't mean we give up all desires or goals, but the pushing against what is really creates a lot of unnecessary suffering. Mm-hmm. And it certainly did for me in this dynamic. So I think that's really helpful. That
yeah,
piece.
I think another way to look at it is like, we set up these expectations and don't meet the expectations, then we stress about the expectations that we set up for ourselves. So like a business launch, if your goal is $100,000, it's almost we're setting it up for failure. Because if I don't hit $100,000, then I'm like, oh, I failed. But you might have just done your biggest launch ever at $50,000.
Well, we've really...
And so then if you go over 100,000, you're like, I blew that out of the water. But it's like, there's so much frustration that comes from expectations, which we just make up.
Yeah.
And
that's why I still have a funny relationship with goal setting in business.
Yeah. And I think like what feels good in a desire, where that's why business, we're getting so much better at data. We can build off of what a quote unquote a launch is going to be based off data. Like data doesn't lie. Obviously, you can manipulate data. It happens all the time in the business world. We've seen it, even accounting,
and also in the scientific research world.
Oh yeah, all the time. Data, we can manipulate it, but let's say you don't manipulate the data and you just look at it. Right? There's no emotion attached to 2 + 2 = 4. And so if you just do your data of what you think has happened, this is what could happen, and then you're like, okay, great. And so it's just like you run with that versus playing all the emotional games that we play with ourselves around it. And I know we're emotional humans, so it ties into it. So it's not disconnecting from that. But I feel like it's like once Mike is better, or once this is done, or once, as Chris talked about in her book, like once my cancer's gone, so I'll do all these healing modalities to get rid of it, or once my skin doesn't blow up anymore, right? And or once this lady you were referring to, my husband's not sick, life will be better. And it's like, well.
Yeah. I mean, and in her case, she was trying to cultivate a sense of connection and romance in the dynamic as it is. So I really have to say, like, that's a beautiful question to be like, okay, this is, and then how can I work with what is?
Right.
As opposed to being like, oh, it's not, I can't have what I want until XYZ is true externally.
I think because there's been a lot of conversations around, and we are not marriage experts. So just so we're stating
I'm an expert in how to do our marriage.
Yes, correct.
That's it.
I would say what has helped with Kate and I.
I've been doing this marriage for 10 years.
Is we talk about it, and if we realize we're kind of stuck, then we bring in someone else to help. Now, like what you mentioned too with Dr. Shafali, which I have found very helpful in the past couple of years, is if I'm in a funk, like even today, this morning I was in a funk. And
who were you talking to?
When?
This morning. Like before 7 a.m. you were on the phone.
No, I was listening to a video.
No, you were talking to somebody. You were on the phone.
Oh, Deb Kern.
Oh, you were talking to Deb.
Yeah, the woman that married us.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. Okay. So
I just was like, I love that it's 6:30 a.m. Mike's on a call. Don't know who he's talking to.
But it's just like, if I'm in a funk, I'll just reach out to, I have like, my friends are hilarious because I just dial people all day. If I'm in the car, I'll just call people. If I'm walking to and from the office, I'll just call people. And most of the time, nobody answers. But there's like 20% of the chance somebody answers the phone. And then we'll just chit chat for 15 minutes. Then we move along. And then people are like, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't answer. I'm like, you don't need to apologize. Like, I'm sure you have a life. You're not sitting around waiting for Mike. We had no appointment. I'm just calling you. And
Mike is one of the only existing humans on the planet who just calls.
Yeah, I have
He doesn't send a text first to ask. He doesn't make an appointment. No. He just calls.
I actually use a phone with minutes.
It's like it's 1993.
Yeah. So, but I like talking to people, and I just like talk. I'll be like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, dude, I'm in a funk. And we'll talk for 10 minutes, then I'll get out of it. So it's not about, but what I always, and I'll tell this woman too, and what I've noticed for myself is like, if I'm complaining to my friends about you,
that's a problem.
It's a problem because really I'm the problem most of the time, right? There could be something where you really did something.
Occasionally
that hurt
you're
my
the
feelings.
problem.
Occasionally. Or occasionally I'm really the problem, right? So, but that's probably what, 10% of the time something actually, you did something
And at this
that
point
hurt
in
my
our
feelings.
relationship, if I've done something that hurt your feelings or
We'll talk
whatever,
about it.
you have already talked to me
we've
about it.
talked
So
about
you're
it.
not complaining about it
But
to your friends.
what in most dynamics or most situations, we're complaining to someone else about what's going on. And really it's like time to look inward about what's going on inside of myself. And to be like, okay, why am I grumpy? Or why am I feeling bad about
Why
this?
are you grumpy?
Why am I grumpy? I mean, there's a variety of reasons that could be existing.
Yeah.
It could be,
Maybe instead of getting annoyed at you being grumpy, I should just ask you, why are you grumpy? But I feel like that would make you grumpier.
no, I don't think so. That might be helpful.
Okay, I'll
So
try
you
it
could
out.
just try it out.
I'll try it out.
Yeah. It might pull me out of grump because then we can laugh about it. If we can get to laughter faster, the better it is. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it comes from me not caretaking for myself in the way that I know I should have. So it could be meditation, not eating certain foods, feeling good if I miss sleep, if I stay up too late, if I like happen to be on my phone for too long in the morning.
That makes sense.
That type of stuff throws off your central nervous system. It throws things out of whack. It takes the beauty of life away from self and puts it into some other device, somebody else. And then it causes grumpiness, not because sometimes it's like, I know I shouldn't be doing that. And then I do it anyway. And other times it just screws you up for the rest of the day. And so then it turns grumpiness. And then we have children. Kids are a punch in the face for like 3 hours in the morning, every morning. It's just like, it's like a total beatdown, you know? People give Mike Tyson all this greatness for his knocking out, his boxing, which was phenomenal. But like, that's like 3 hours every morning, you know, from the time you wake up to the time they like leave school, especially with our second one.
She's going through something right now.
And then you do it again at night because, you know, you didn't have enough in the morning. So bedtime, repeat.
So, honey,
Yeah.
10 years
That's
today.
why I'm grumpy sometimes.
Okay. And
So are you, by the way, especially around our kids in bedtime.
well, yes, because
In the
I
mornings,
am
yeah.
done. And then
Yeah.
they keep wanting stuff from
That's
me.
what you think,
And
yeah. This is
I'm at that time, I am done. I'm ready to be done with my day. I'm ready to be done parenting.
I think grumpiness comes from a disconnect of self. If I was to dumb it down
Disconnection
into,
from yourself.
yeah, into
I
one
think that
sentence.
is incredibly insightful.
Yeah,
And
it's like you're a million ideas that you'll tell me at 5 o'clock, and then I might feel overwhelmed with the whole situation because a lot of that is like I feel like I have to do something about it, but I know if it goes in one ear and out the other, you're gonna just come up with
do
another
appreciate
ideas.
some sort of response.
No, I know that. No, I don't mean that. I know.
No, but just
Yeah.
for the record,
I know you. I
for
know.
our
We've done.
listeners, I let it be known that sometimes I say a whole thing and I'm like, literally does not respond. And I'm like, hello? Did you hear anything I just said? And you're like, I didn't know that required a response. And I'm like, well, generally in when you are with another human being, one person says something and the other person responds.
But I could also repeat what you said back to me, which you've quizzed me on many times. She'll go on these like 10-minute dialogues.
No.
And then she's like, what do you think? And I'm like, which part?
My problem,
Yeah.
I have no
I'm
concern
listening.
about you not listening. That's not my concern at all. I know you're listening and I know you heard me.
Yeah.
I just think it's kind of bizarre that sometimes you don't respond. It's like very odd relating. But anyway.
I need time to process.
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah. I would say that's one of
Being in a group of women all the time, they're like cutting each other off. Conversations are never finished. Like there's like a million topics going on and you're like back and forth. I like to like talk about a topic, move through the topic, finish the topic and move on to the next one. Like men are very linear around this. Women are like all over the place. So when you're hanging out with me, you can't think you're like with a bunch of girlfriends. I think it's so bizarre is I'm with like 4 of your girlfriends.
Never mistaken you for a group of my
But
girlfriends.
that's why the question is, it's like, I'm with all your girlfriends and then we're talking about something and somebody interrupts somebody else and goes to the next thing and it's on. I'm like, there's like 5 or 6 different conversations happening and none of them got finished. I was like, it's wild.
It's true.
Yeah.
And we don't care.
No,
It's not about that.
no,
I don't hang out with my girlfriends to finish conversations.
No.
That is not my purpose at all.
just coming up with more ideas.
What are your best tips for working with your spouse?
It's a good one.
What do you think are the things that make it work in terms of us working together? Knowing that this is a constant evolution. This is never like a moment stuck in time. This is never like, oh, we nailed it. We're not working on anything.
Ego
More of it.
Hold
we
on.
each need to have
No, I'm
more
gonna say-
ego.
We don't have enough ego. We need to bump up our ego. I'm going to say 3 things and then I'll come back.
Okay.
I would say with ego, it's what is the reason each of us are doing this? And then what are our roles in it? And
Like, what's our why in our business?
yeah, like what's our mission and vision for each? I would say for us, we have parenting, we have Kate herself, Mike himself, we have our marriage, and then we like have our company ties into this as well. Right. So it's like a giant Venn diagram. So like, what is our vision and mission for our whole life? And then everything kind of fits into that. And then when it comes to roles in the company, it's in our case, right? We go by Kate Northrup, which is you as the human,
We go by Kate Northrup.
right?
That's funny.
That's the brand,
Yeah.
right? Which is also you as a human, but you're also a brand,
Yes.
right? But also a human.
Tricky.
Yeah, it's tricky. And so with Mike, when we first started, myself was building Mike Watts.
Yeah.
Like I was building my own brand. And then there was a place in the time where like you didn't want to be the face anymore. And you were like, Mike, go do something to make money. And that started. So I started doing that. But then that hurt the Kate Northrup piece of everything. And it caused like this tension and resentment that took place in it. And for me, there was also a piece that I wanted to like share the stage, quote unquote, like be up there with you teaching, doing the things. And it took me a long time, really getting sick a lot, to really sit down and like, let's check yourself right now, buddy. Where are you? Right. And so that is all ego, right? Being on stage, getting seen, responsibility, that's all lack of Mike when he's 5. It's like, I want to hear my voice and I want to be loved and I want to be seen. So I would say those conversations probably need to take place between 2 people if they're working together. And where does that fit? And do you feel good with the role? And that's a conversation that happens at least once a year.
Yeah.
Because that is going to evolve. It's going to evolve into a new evolution and what that looks like. So I think frequent conversations with that, and then check in ego of why. Because if like Kate, the person that's on stage in our life, gets a really big ego and like has 4,000 people on a webinar, and then she starts like flaunting her shit around our house and to be like, I'm too good for this type thing. She doesn't do this. As an example.
I just have the Beyonce song playing in my head.
Which one?
The Got a Big Ego song. I'm having a whole musical interlude.
Okay,
in
good.
here.
Are you going to bust out in song?
I don't think I know it well enough to sing it.
We'll let Beyonce sing it.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice.
Aaron, do you think you could put like a snippet of Beyonce maybe in here for a couple seconds?
You got a big ego.
But then I think it's also for that person, the person that's on the stage or getting the quote unquote the fame and being noticed is like also what happens with them, because that also can deter and go downward spiral. That can also end a relationship if like people are pulling apart from what's going on. Are we building this thing together or are we building it parallel and 2 separate? So that's what I would say ego. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's what I came with. Second thing is meetings and communications. Is for us, we do money meetings, we have planning meetings, we have like meetings about our kids in school, we have big business decisions, financial decisions. If we're hiring somebody new, we are having these discussions. We're not talking about business around making dinner or setting the table or me unloading and loading the dishwasher, as excellent as I am at it. We're not having these discussions around there. We used to, and then realize like, this is not a good place to do this because you got a kid yelling at you about wanting something. And then it's like, it's not possible, right? So having dedicated space to have these real conversations. And just like if you had a job, that's what you're doing. You're going to work and you start off, I used to have shifts at Philip Morris when I was working there. And we'd have a shift meeting at the beginning of the shift meeting. What do we do at the shift meeting? We're talking about what the shift is going to look like, what machines are broken down, where we are. So we're getting a lay of the land that's there. And we're not, and of course anyway, but those are meetings, right? So that I would say that has been successful. And what's the third one? And make sure you get support. I would say that is the other piece, is like the support at home is almost more important than the support in your company.
I think it's more important.
It is more. It depends on the stage of life, right? If we're married with kids, but even if you're not married with kids, also like who's helping you make food if you're at the office for 10 hours a day?
I don't know.
Or 12 hours a day. Because running a company it's a lonely endeavor. in many ways. Like, I don't want to look at it as a negative or think like that, but it is very lonely. Like, it's just you running a business and you're paying people to help you run the business. But like, nobody cares about your company more than you do. So it creates a sense of loneliness that many times that you do feel alone, even though you might not be. But you also have to, it's like when you're building your team of your business, but also, because when I used to consult with business owners all the time, I'm like, who's helping you at home? There's a lot of these people I was consulting with were women that had children. And they're like, well, I do the cooking and the cleaning and the house cleaning. And it's like all of this. I was like, you have to stop that. Like, you don't need a marketer. You need
Stop that.
You need someone. We have to divert some of these funds right now to getting the healthcare taken care of.
Absolutely.
Because running a household with children and a partner,
lot.
it's another full-time job. It's a full-time job.
We have full-time
yes.
support at home.
Yes.
From someone who is
Yes.
full-time household manager / nanny.
Yeah.
And make sure there's dinner on the table.
Yeah.
Laundry gets done. House is tidy. Plants get taken care of. Children get picked up.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. And I think that
And I think with the company, it's the same way. It's like, who can you get support and who is on your team to help you and what are their roles and responsibilities are. And some people are really good at like creating systems and operations around it. I would say I'm in the real learning process of that to continually get better, definitely better now than I was 5 years ago. And we'll continually, in about 5 years, we're going to be like dialed in. But I do know there's other people that are really, really good at that. And would I rather have 6 to 8 people on a team who are really dialed in and passionate about what they're doing, or have 25, right? And then you're just I would rather have and get the same amount of results or very similar results. I would rather really nurture and help 6 to 8 people to do that. And so that requires getting really good training that's happening. So that happens at home as well as that happens kind of at the business when you're working together.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say to answer your question.
I love it. Do you have any questions for me?
But I'm on your show.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
interview me.
I mean, I have more, but
What's lighting you up these days?
what's lighting me up these days?
What are you excited about for the future? Kate's
My
favorite
future
question.
tripper self. I am, in the short term, I'm really excited for my summer time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm really looking forward to our week away. I'm really looking forward to hanging with the kids, just having more unstructured time and less stuff on the calendar. I'm in a little bit of a sprint right now to get a bunch of stuff off my plate so that I can go away, fully unplug for the week with you, which is happening right now while this podcast is live this week, and then also travel with the kids. So I'm ready for some coast time. And I wouldn't say I'm excited about, but I am feeling devoted to finally finishing my book proposal and getting it sold this summer.
Why are you not excited about it?
Because it's hard. It requires me to pull forth a part of myself that is like a deeper part of myself. I have to really harness my energy, cut out distractions, and I don't know why this just came to me, but it's like chewing steak. It's like
Chewing fat.
it
Just
requires,
constant stuff.
no, not fat, but it just it requires some energy and attention, and it's super worth it. It is absolutely a good use of my time, but there's stuff that I create that's really easy that I could just, it's not that I phone it in. I mean, I bring my full self to it, but it's just, it's like at the top of my head. I just boom, 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 boom. But the writing, to be honest, many times it does actually feel easy once I'm actually sitting down and writing. But the moving through the resistance to sit down and actually do that, it always feels like there's something more urgent. It always feels like there's something more important. It always feels like there's something that requires my energy and attention. And I want to give in to those distractions. And so the actual sitting down, there's a transition from where I am right now to getting into the work that is very uncomfortable. And that in between part is where my work is, to like face it every day.
What would you say are 3 tips that you would say about working with your spouse?
Well, some of them are actually coming out in the solo episode later on this week.
Oh, okay.
I did
Well,
9
teaser.
I did
Listen.
9 lessons from 10 years of marriage. Maybe we could come up with a 10th today.
Okay.
Because I thought it should be 10, but I had only written down 8, and then I came up with a bonus while.
Well, you're
3.
going to do them in the podcast coming out. So 3 tips.
We'll just say
We'll just do that. Listen up.
You'll just listen to the solo episode, and you'll get my
Curious
tips
more
for
about
working
this
with your
resistance
spouse.
around your book.
Yeah.
I'm more curious.
I mean, I
about.
think it's one of those things that like the best way to deal with it is just to freaking do it. It's one of those like just do it situations, because analyzing it, whatever, it's very like The Art of War, Stephen Pressfield, do the work, turning pro, just like put your ass in the chair and do it. Yep. It's uncomfortable. Yep. You're going to want to do other things. Just fucking do it. So I think that's the place I'm at, which is why I was scared when Gus asked me what my deadline was the other day, because I was like, I know he's going to follow up. So he will, and I will have something to report to him, I hope. Okay, so what's our 10th lesson? You'll get the other 9 later on this week in the solo episode, but what is our 10th lesson from 10 years in business? And this is a trick question because you don't know what the other 9 are. So
What's our
see.
10th lesson from being married
What's
for
your
10
biggest
years?
lesson from being married for 10 years? Or your biggest takeaway or joy or
Learning how to actually open my heart and love people.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Like what that is.
How to open your heart.
Yeah. And like define love for myself. Like, what does that look like? Because like we hear it all the time. You go to a concert and somebody on stage is like, I love you guys. It's like, you don't know anybody. Like, so what does that look like? Right.
You mean, what does that feel like?
Or what does that feel like? Right. What we think love is just between one person, or what we've.
No, I mean, I saw Justin Timberlake on Saturday night. And when he said like, I really love you guys, it's true. He does.
Yeah. So like, but a lot of times we associate love with just like between 2 people, right? Or between my children. And so how do you open that up for the world?
That's beautiful. That was one of my 9.
Oh, I should go my 9 and see if we line up.
Any others?
Okay. Ask me the question again.
What is your biggest lesson from 10 years being married? Or your second biggest, because you just gave the biggest, which was super beautiful.
I was open to doing a lot of things that I was unfamiliar with previously. So I don't know how you would categorize that, but just when we first went to therapy the first time, that I didn't know that existed or what that was. And being open to have real conversations. That's a lesson for me. It's like we can actually have real conversations. Because immediately I go to like, we're getting divorced, right? It's like,
which is really interesting given that I'm the one who comes from a family of divorce.
Yeah, but I'm an 8 on the Enneagram. So we go from everything's great to
everything's
the world's
terrible.
blowing up in a split second.
You go dark fast.
Yeah, fast.
Yeah.
So no, it's just like the programming. Fighting is bad. Having difficult conversations equals bad. Like it's not, it's just real communication, and we're having real communication or avoidance. And then avoidance creates the resentment around it.
I am really proud of us. I think we've really been following David, our therapist's instructions when he said like every week, talk about the hard things. Yeah. And really get in there and like talk about anything you've been withholding, talk about like, and we've been doing it.
Yeah, and
not at a scheduled time every week, but we've been doing it in real time.
When it's
and
time
it's awesome.
that needs to happen, we come up with it, right? And we're not. Yeah, I think sometimes a scheduled time seems forced. It's like Monday night at 7:00. We are going to talk about our difficult things.
I could come up with something every week,
and it's like we sit down to talk about our difficult things, and then it's like, Mama, I'm hungry. It's like, what?
Mama, can I have a snuggle?
Excuse me, this is my difficult time with Kate's time. Ruby, you're out. Yeah. Oh my God. I just think it also like I didn't know I needed another lesson in marriage is like not using you as my own. Like there's an element of like we're each other's support system, but you're not my everything. If that makes sense to people.
Yeah, I find it alarming when somebody says that their spouse is their everything. I'm like,
yeah, like I got to get some friends, yo. Like You got to get some other
Widen
people.
your base of support.
Because that's too much pressure. It's too much stress, and it's also not fun for anybody. So and I think for us, we really gravitated towards this building, I would say strengthening our polarity in the last couple of years, more so than before. Also, my skin wasn't falling off. I mean, right now it is, but in the past,
This has been a brief moment. And I would like to also celebrate.
Yeah.
I had a friend who checked in with me. She was like, how you doing with Mike being in a flare right now? And I said, I would really, first of all, I'm so sorry you're having a flare, honey. And I did celebrate because I was like, I am having a healthy, normal, compassionate response for a spouse.
It was very odd the other day.
Who is feeling sick. And that is such a sign of growth.
Yeah.
And such a sign of healing in our relationship that my only feeling is like, I'm sad for you and this is hard, but that's it. Mm-hmm. And so I was feeling sad for you, but I was also really celebrating.
You should.
The progress, because I was just like,
well, that helps the healing faster.
Oh, yeah. And so this time
because when you came up to me the other day and you like put your hands on me and you just prayed on me or whatever you're doing, so sending me love, I was like,
giving you a healing.
This is actually really nice.
I was giving you a treatment.
Yeah, I like my treatment.
Yeah, I don't know. My mom growing up, so my mom like is trained in Reiki and she would do Reiki on her patients and stuff. And growing up, she would do Reiki on me and my sister, but she called it giving us a treatment. And I don't even know, I'm not trained in Reiki, but like that's what I do with the girls if they have a bellyache or they have whatever. I just tell them I'm giving them a treatment and I just like use the healing power of my hands. So I figured
and Penelope did
maybe
that
someday
too.
I'll do a Reiki training, but for now, it seems to.
It works.
I think so.
Penelope came out the other day. Ruby did the same thing.
She did some hands-on healing.
Yeah.
That's
Ruby
beautiful.
like caught that I was sick after 4 days. It was pretty funny and also nice. She like stared into my soul deep in my eyes and I just stared right back at her and we just had a nice connection moment.
Final question. Mm-hmm. What does it mean to you what does love actually look like and feel like to you? What have you learned helps you access your heart and love?
What helps me access love? Let me strategically think about this concept. I think a lot has to do with seeing that everybody's right and everybody's wrong and at the same time, right? It's like, so if I'm listening to some sort of news story, like that's how they feel. They're right and they're wrong. And then they're right and they're wrong, right? But it's like, what is right and wrong when you really get to this place of pure openness? And so for me, there has been a lot of systems and structures in the world that have harmed people and that continually happen today. And for me, it's just been helpful to get to a place for love. For me, it's more of just understanding that it's asking questions is how I can drop in there faster. This is going to be a weird answer. So if I say something and somebody has some sort of reaction to it, I just keep asking questions to them to see where they're sit instead of me trying to project my own opinion on it. So for me, that's me. I'm able to tap into, I don't know if this is love, but this is like, for me, it's like, okay, how do I love this person right where they're at? And so what is that? It's just like me checking with my heart and more, it's getting out of my head. If I was to sum it up, it's getting out of my head and into my body. So how do I do that faster? If I'm stressing out about it, anxious about it in my head, then I know I'm not in that love place. Mm-hmm. So what does that look like? And at like the Joe Dispenza events I've gone to, I've felt my heart in ways that I have never felt it. And it's been fantastic. I haven't been able to, at this point, tap into that since I've been at home the same way that I do there. I also think it's because it's a giant human experiment, which is also very fun. And you're just there to do that versus here, how do I integrate this into my regular practice? So that is what I would say.
Amazing. That's all I got. That's the episode.
Great. Go to katenorthrup.com and sign up for the email list if you're not already, and subscribe and like this video.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. That's how you can celebrate our anniversary with us.
Yeah, that's how you can celebrate. No, but I'm really looking, because we're gone right now on this, since this is anniversary week. We're on a getaway, the two of us. And it's going to be really great. Yeah. So I'm very excited for that.
Parallel timelines.
What does that mean?
Well, it's just funny because we are clearly not on a getaway. We're recording this.
No, but when
podcast.
this comes up, that was the whole we started this where
That's
I said
why
yes.
I said parallel timelines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be nice.
Yeah.
Taking
Happy
some
anniversary.
space. A good thing I would say another tip, so we'll end it, is like taking dedicated time for each other.
Yes.
I have so many friends who have kids that are like 5 and 6 and they've never been away with their spouse on a
And
trip.
listen,
just the
some
two of them.
people
And
don't have the option because
yes.
they don't have
hold
somebody
on,
to watch
I'm
their
getting
kids.
there,
But
I
okay.
just want to say, like, there is a way to make that happen. Most likely, an aunt, a neighbor, a friend, a sleepover at a friend's house, whatever that may be, is probably possible. And so for us, we are very dedicated at like once a quarter to find time away.
Yeah, even just a night.
Yeah, just a night.
And
So,
then once a year,
a
Mimi
longer
takes
one.
the kids to Camp Mimi.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's right now.
Yeah.
All right. I love you.
Love you too. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening to this episode of Plenty. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe, leave a rating, leave a review. That's one of the best ways that you can ensure to spread the abundance of plenty with others. You can even text it to a friend and tell them to listen in. And if you want even more support to expand your abundance, head over to katenorthrup.com/breakthroughs, where you can grab my free money breakthrough guide that details the biggest money breakthroughs from some of the top earning women I know, plus a mini lesson accompanying it with my own biggest money breakthroughs and a nervous system healing tool for you to expand your abundance. Again, that's over at katenorthrup.com/breakthroughs. See you next time.